The views, information, or opinions expressed are solely those of the individuals involved as actors who are members of SAG-AFTRA and do not necessarily reflect SAG-AFTRA. The primary purpose of the series is to dialogue. Hi, everyone. I'm Paul Cram, joined today by Chicago-based actor Alyssa Freyden.
Swear to God, I will never forget this when I finally got a franchised agent and I booked a gig and I got a check. I fell on the floor crying because I had been working,
Oh,
day jobs.
yeah.
And I'm like, you're paying me for doing something I love. And so now I'm on the way opposite side where, yeah, you should get paid for your exposure, your talent, your
Yes.
time.
Yes. Alyssa Freyden is a SAG-AFTRA professional actress who has voiced hundreds of national commercials, corporate videos, interactive games, and promos. She has appeared in a variety of TV shows, independent and feature films. Just have to insert in here, like if you are a Batman fan, you may recognize her. Alyssa is a trained stage actress and vocalist who plays in the improv pool but stays in the shallow end. She's known as a smart, strong actress who has warmth and a good sense of humor. Before I dive in, I just want to mention too, Alyssa and I start talking and kind of diving in. When I was recording it, I had a little bit of a glitch in my video. So unfortunately, the audio is great, but unfortunately the video goes out a little ways in. That is me bad. Here we go. And something I was mentioning to you right before we click record too is I feel like in Minnesota, the people that I've kind of come in contact with don't necessarily see actors as a labor, like the job of an actor as labor.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to that at all as well? Like as far as what that looks like or why that, I mean, yeah, take it away. I
Yeah,
don't know
no,
if you
I
have thoughts
think
on that.
I appreciate the discussion and the question because I don't think we do it often enough. I think I know that the organization, both mostly AFTRA before merger and SAG, have been, well, first on a federal level, we're under whatever labor union rights that there are.
Mm-hmm.
So as a private labor union, we don't get special treatment just because we don't see ourselves as a trade, right? Like people think of labor in the sense of somebody who's a trade worker or somebody on a factory line. But what it is just a group of people collectively coming together for fair pay and fair working conditions. I mean, that's really all it is there is a group of people who want to be treated a certain way and ask management to respect that. And that's where the negotiation or the collectively bargained agreement comes from. But
Mm-hmm.
I think in the past, what people can really take a benefit from is that we have a charter membership with the AFL-CIO as a parent organization of, I don't even know what the count is, but yes, it's been declining, but it's still a group of like 12 million workers that we are a part of. And so when
Right.
you are a part of that whole, there are benefits to that. But also, there's, I think for me, I grew up at a time where I knew what labor was, but my family wasn't labor. And as I moved into labor as an actor performer, I understood, oh, I'm that. I should support other unions and
Mm-hmm.
understand that. And I think that actors in the category of workers that we have between actors, broadcasters, and recording artists, I can only speak for actors. I feel like we really think of ourselves as individuals. Some people think of them as independent contractors or freelancers. They don't see themselves as labor workers because it's just, I think there might be, I don't know, some kind of stigma to it, but really it's an amazing thing to be a part of when you're part of a collective and a part of a larger group that can
Mm-hmm.
support you and fight for your rights. Um, I know we promote it so much, but it kind of misses the mark. And maybe it's because of the culture of our country today, where we don't have a very positive culture on labor. But there's a lot of activism, especially in
There
the gig
is.
economy.
Yeah. And I can actually speak to I myself, yes, I think similar to you in that regard, where I am an actor. I can't really speak to the broadcasting side of things in a lot of ways. But from my own experience, I can speak to that sort of I would use the word lonely or isolated, possibly, from the work that I've done in film, where it's like working on independent film projects where their budgets are so low, and feeling like this little island of like, oh my gosh, what am I? Wait a minute. If something goes wrong, or some of those things that SAG-AFTRA provides are so wonderful. Because I mean, yeah, in my career, I have found myself in situations and stuff where I'm like, oh, okay, there's no protections here. Like I literally, I mean, take your pick. It's like, oh, okay, well, that was sexual harassment and there's nothing to do about that. Or, oh, and I don't mean to be flip about that. I'm just, there's things where it's like, oh, okay, even pay rates and getting paid and just some of those things where it's like, this is legit work that we are doing as actors. Where's my check? Some things like that. Um, and I don't know that I even had in my mind, even walking through and experiencing some of those things. It's like, oh, right, right. I don't know if you had worked at all in indie film at all before you joined. Was that a thing for you?
So before I joined, and it's, people have to remember nobody's born union, right? So you have
Right.
to, you come into the world and there's this non-union. And I think you might see it in, our education growing up in the theater or in the arts, what you're
Hmm.
doing. And you do it because you become passionate about it. It becomes emotional and you find a need to be a storyteller. So you go through school and you experience certain things and you're like, okay, well, I fell off of that scaffolding. That's normal. Who am I going to tell about that? But then you go to college and they're asking you to do certain things and you're like, yeah, to get my degree, if you go to school for theater or whatever, or you do it as an extracurricular, okay, I'm not getting paid, and that's the dues you pay for the degree. And then you get out into the real world and you need the experience or expertise to navigate the business. It's one of the things about education. I'm actually talking to a university later today, and they teach the business of acting, but not a lot of schools talk about the business or why, what casting is like, or what it's like to be on a set, or any of those things that help you move through a professional environment.
Hmm.
Um, but then you're trying to figure out how to be a professional, and our union for sure, sets an area standard. Basically, if I'm making X, somebody who's non-union should try to make that much. And so you could see where they go down. But here's the
Right.
standard, here's the
Right.
floor. So when I did I worked in non-union in the Chicago area for about 5 years, I think, before I
Hmm.
joined, with the
Yeah.
aspiration of always joining and always being a professional, get paid like a professional, having no idea what I had to do to get into the union. Um, but realizing, as you're saying, if I'm thinking about it, uh, never asked about commission, never asked about when I was going to get paid, or, you're going to get paid. This is what the job is: traveling myself without reimbursement, bringing my own wardrobe, like
Right.
really trying to figure it out on my own. And then when I did join the union, and I swear to God, I will never forget this, when I finally got a franchised agent and I booked a gig and I got a check, I fell on the floor crying because I had been working,
Oh,
day jobs.
yeah.
And I'm like, you're paying me for doing something I love. And so now I'm on the way opposite side where, yeah, you should get paid for your exposure, your talent, your
Yes.
time.
Yes.
And when I did do, or I have done, some of our low budget independent type of films, um, I just appreciate so much how, because some of the contracts have mixed cast, the contract
Hmm.
covers everybody. So I
Hmm.
really enjoy it. Okay, everybody lunch. It's like, oh, even a person who's not a member of this union is is experiencing what it is to be in a workplace environment where you're not abused. So I think, yeah.
That reminds me of an experience I had where it was an indie, it was like what you're talking about. It was a mixed cast, and I overheard the crew, and I don't believe the crew was union because of some of the commentary that they were making, but they were saying like they were being pushed so hard, and they literally, it was because I was shooting that day. They were like, "Oh, we can't call everybody in this early tomorrow." And one of the crew members was like, "Well, thank God, like finally, like I can get a little bit of sleep." And they were like, "Well, wait, oh, it's because Paul's union. He can't be, you can't call him in that soon." And that was when it clicked in my head. I was like, ding, ding, ding. Like the safety piece is so huge. Like, yeah.
Huge, huge, especially today, right? Like that's my, not like I'm a silver linings person, like gosh, but excuse me, the when we first entered into this pandemic and we came up with the back to work and the return to work protocols with
Mhm.
management in TV theatrical as well as in commercials, it does go also to the independent films. Um, you know, everybody wanted to be safe. And I thought to myself, this will end. Let's not forget the safety features. Let's not forget. I remember doing a film actually in Michigan, and it was a big film, and I don't even know if I'd ever been on a film set that big yet. And I had to fall to the floor, simply fall to my knees. And I never thought about asking for any help. By the time somebody from like wardrobe or somebody walked up and said, "Are you okay? Do you need a knee pad?" I didn't even think to ask, and my knee was bloody. And
Oh,
because
yeah,
historically, I think Alyssa Freyden, the actor in high school and college and non-union, was like, you just do the work and nobody's there to help you. And this person was like, here's a knee pad, put it under your pants. I was like, oh, I can do that. I can ask to be protected. And
right.
so you learn to, it's not even advocating for yourself, but that is, it feels like it because you're alone, right? You're the only
Hmm.
actor, but,
Right.
and not to be demanding, but to at least say, hey, listen, that I'm hurting myself in this position. Is there a way that I can make myself feel safer? They'd be like, oh my gosh, for sure. Just like that crew, like we should be taking a break. Like, isn't that do you guys ever, I mean, I know crew first on when you're going in to take a break for lunch.
Right. Yep.
I don't know if somebody lost that thread, but I'm always like, no, 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 crew first. And they're always
Crew
like, no, no, no,
goes.
no, you
Yeah.
go. I'm like, crew first. They've been here a
Let the
lot longer than me.
yeah.
It's a respect thing. It's the right thing to do
Yeah.
for any worker. And hopefully, what we establish as a professional union will affect and impact in a positive way in the non-union. And I
Yeah.
honestly, I know in the beginning of the pandemic, people were going on sets, non-union sets, without any protocols, without any PPE, and you're like, oh, that's just a basic thing, like just
Hmm.
basic. And now I think people are kind of catching up to it and having
Yep.
safer environments.
Absolutely. There's something that you mentioned too that I kind of wanted to just jump back on, was that note about like residuals and commissions and money and all that stuff. When I was talking to our rep in Chicago, I specifically was just mentioning a film project that I had worked on, and they were presenting, me and my agent with a day rate, and I was like, this doesn't really work for me very well, and they wound up doing a much bigger rate, and I ended up making a lot more money, and the production was fine with it, which was really nice. But it was one of those things where I know in the back of my head I was like, gosh, I worked on so many film projects and didn't get compensated well for it. And
Hmm.
it's so nice
Hmm.
to get compensated. Like when you said you fell down on your knees and were like, oh, like that's so, yeah.
Yeah, I think that there is a culture, and I mean, I definitely have grown up in this where we're afraid to say no because we think people will then not like us. And so, it's really
Yes.
about, especially in this isolated environment. I mean, look at you. You've got this gorgeous background. Like, you've invested yourself. We're not going into casting facilities. We're not going into, maybe your agents have a casting room or whatever to record. And we're investing our money. We've always invested our money. I mean,
Right.
there were days
Right.
when we had to have, you know, updated headshots and mailing them. And if you were in
Hmm.
voiceover, you had, a cassette or a CD. And so there's always a cost to doing this business. And
Right.
we accept that. We never say no, which is, you have to know when to say no. And so you also need to know when to maybe ask, like, hey, can I get X? Is it okay? Can we go back? Can we counter? And it seems like not pretentious, but maybe it's a Midwestern thing. I don't know. We're just the humility of, like, you know what I mean? Like, asking
Yeah.
for too much. Do you think maybe you could ask for a bigger, I
You
don't know
think
what it
maybe
is.
possibly we could do it this way because, I have a funeral, like my, like
Yeah, right. Could we move the date? Like, can I come in a little later? My child needs daycare. Like, and just saying, hey, I can't do it at that
yeah.
time. I could do it at this time. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing
Yeah.
with a rate that's negotiable. And of course, in the union, you negotiate up. You don't ever say I'll take less. You say I need, let's talk more, which is different than non-union,
Well,
right?
especially for someone with experience. I mean, this is not your first rodeo. This is not your first time on set, Alyssa. Like you know what you're doing. Yeah, that's worth something.
I think it is, and I'm very I want to say, like, I'm cognizant of the fact that in low budget productions, so in the independent film world, where you're doing, a spa agreement or a low budget modified, that you could go from a no budget, like a micro budget, to a big up to 2 million, right? And so
Yeah.
that's just somebody's money. A lot of times it's on somebody's credit card. Um, and so I'm going to walk in and be a part of that team, like an ensemble, like in theater. I'm going to be part of that team. I'm not going to ask for something that, if nobody else is getting paid and I'm the only one getting
Right.
paid, I'm
Right.
really feeling I came in to do the same job that I would do on a network or studio set,
Right.
but I will never go on a set where everybody else is getting paid and they'll be like, yeah, we're not paying you. That's what I can't get people. I don't understand when people take something for nothing and don't ask. Was
Oh,
everybody else getting paid?
yes. Yes, yes, yes. That's
Isn't that
resonating
it?
for me in such a big way. There was a film that happened. They were bringing in actors from I believe it was either LA or New York, and I was like, "No, I know that you're paying them really well, and you're not going to pay me well." Okay, and I was like, "No, I'm not interested." And the director called me, like, and he was mad, and I was like, wow, wow." And I didn't handle it well. I should have been like, "Just talk to my agent," but
Oh
I got really
yeah.
mad at him too, and I didn't handle that well, but neither did he. So I don't know.
But you learn, it's a learning experience,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I want to be very cognizant and aware of your time, by the way. I know that
Oh, thanks.
you have to get out as well. So I do want to just kind of wind this down and wrap it down. I really appreciate your input, Alyssa. And like I have a little fun piece that I wanted to do with you as well. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just like a lightning round of silly questions.
Okay.
If you're game for that.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, yeah,
Go
they're
for it.
silly, and I think what's fun about these is either think about them super hard or don't think about them at all. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Da, da, da. If animals could talk, which animal would be the rudest?
The rudest
Hmm.
animal? Probably a city squirrel.
Name 2 of the 7 dwarfs.
Oh, I really there I can't tell you which ones I like. I mean, I love them all, but probably there's just I love Sleepy and
Oh.
Dopey. But I should like Happy and Grumpy, right? Like, but Sleepy and Dopey, I think they're adorable.
I love that. Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Oh, dark
Mm.
chocolate. Mm.
And last little lightning round question. Your weapon of choice in a zombie apocalypse.
Oh, it can't be a conscientious objector to that. I can't just my weapon of choice.
That actually
Uh,
is an answer. That is an answer.
okay,
The conscientious objection. Yeah.
I just would like to I hate like weapons freak me out. Like even
Yeah.
whole like
Yeah.
stage combat makes me cry. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna be I'll work behind the scenes like I do in the union, and you can go fight the zombie apocalypse.
Yes. Yes. No, I totally, totally. I do. I feel like I have a bazillion questions and I think I'll reach out to you again. So, but in the interest of time, I am going to say goodbye and thank you so much.
It was my pleasure, Paul. I'm so glad it finally worked out that we could connect. So thank you
Yes.
for being patient and your time, and I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much, Alyssa. I really enjoyed the conversation and appreciate your insights and input. If anyone wants to find out more information about Alyssa, you can find her online at alyssafradin.com. And I'll spell that for you. It's www.ilyssafradin. So alyssafradin.com. For more information about SAG-AFTRA, you can also log on to their website, which is sagaftra.org. And as always, you can find me online as well at www.impaulcram.com. Thanks everyone for listening, and I hope we keep being kind to each other. Thank you.